Hello guys, welcome back. We got the Charon kit and it was 6 a.m. so I had to go to sleep. I couldn't do the video. So now we're doing it now. Let's go check what Charon is, and yes, the App Store video that you saw or you heard, maybe you didn't see it but you heard it, it was true. Maybe intern Coon this time is gonna be, next time it's not gonna mess it up, okay? Well, maybe it's not even there anymore, maybe he got fired. Anyway, the DYNAMO team has a new character, which is Charon. Now, a lot of people are a little bit upset. They didn't want Charon to be DYNAMO. However, it seems pretty interesting. I went and read a little bit. So let's go ahead and read again. Try to understand it, take it in. There are a little bit of questions that are left out. This kit, as usual, doesn't provide the numbers, so it's going to be a little bit harder to understand the actual power of a character until it comes out. Now, on CN, I don't have any pulls because I'm free to play. However, I'll try to pull, maybe I get lucky, I have like 20 pulls max, because I used it to get Sentinel. Now, I would like him, because it's almost free. If you picked up Lucy back in the days, and now you got Ulrich for free, you just have to get one character now. And between Lucy and Charon, they're so far apart that it's basically not a problem for you to get this team up and going, right? And if you happen to have Ezra laying around and you don't want to use him for Blood Tithe, you can do that, and there you go, free team. So yeah, let's go ahead and check it out. This is the insight, and this is the kit. Now, we don't know the portraits as usual, or the side tube, we'll see in the future. Now, Charon, Spirit, Insight, Trembling Brainwaves. I1 receives Electric Amp. When entering battle, receives 20 dynamo. If Pulsing Electric Field is not active at the start of the round, activates it level 1. All overflowing dynamo, so there is a counter that does that, and that keeps track, and Moxie of all allies will let Charon acquire Shockwave. For every certain stacks of Shockwave, acquire Tremor. Now, my guess is that it's not 1-to-1. It might be a 2-to-1 because it says certain stacks of Shockwaves. Otherwise, I feel like this sentence will be a little more. For every stack of Shockwaves, acquire Tremor. Now, it could be a mistranslation, so keep that in mind as well. We'll see. It could not be 1-to-1, just the only thing that I want to say. I2, classic, dead I2, it is what it is. Maybe one day we'll get a proper I2, and we'll start getting like way more complicated characters. I don't know if it's a good thing or not, we'll see. I3, when an enemy enters battle, said enemy is inflicted with Thanatophobia, which I think I knew what it was and now I forgot. It is what it is. Like the fear of the abyss or some shit. Like that, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you know. When entering battle, receives Dynamo and Moxie. Cool. For each spirit and intelligence ally, receives as extra Moxie. Now, if you're playing with Lucy and you play with Ulrich, so the only extra character that is not intelligence or spirit is going to be Ezra. So maybe in the future, this is an indication that maybe in the future we'll get a fourth character for this team that is like a support, or like I don't know what he was gonna do, a healer or some shit, because this guy doesn't heal, and it will be so soon maybe, I don't know. So keep that in mind. We could get another one for this team. Another Dynamo character. Now, let's go ahead and check what the hell those things that I said are. Okay, so now Electric Amp that he receives on I1 is Pulsing Field level 1 will consume extra Dynamo to directly upgrade to level 3. This is probably the biggest thing about the kit. You start and if you have, because he has Electric Amp and it's not conditioned, so it's gonna be there forever. And I feel like the moment you hit the Dynamo threshold, it's going to immediately drop and upgrade to level 3, which is pretty insane. Because most of the things, the biggest buffs come from level 3. When entering level 3, gives himself and immediate ally in front, so it's another positional thing, like you need to put him behind whoever. Ritual simplification. We'll see what it is. When he level 3, increases penetration rate as well. Ritual simplification means that the ult doesn't cost AP. After releasing ult, dispels the status. So it's going to be a one consumable token that lets you use your AP, your ult, without consuming AP, which is really, actually pretty good. So that way you can get a bigger ramp up on the ultimate on when you're playing the game. Tremor. Tremor is a status that gives you an increased penetration rate, which is what you acquire by converting Shockwave. I don't know if it's 1-to-1, it could be 2-to-1. Thanatophobia, after being attacked, if HP is lower than a certain percentage, Charon deals high Genesis damage to the enemy and reduces crit defense. So it's easier for you to crit, I believe. They always, I don't know why they always choose this line of words. Can you say you crit easier, or it's easier for you to land a crit, or it's easier to you do more critical damage? Why is it always the opposite? Reduces the crit affinity. Like, what is it? Why do you call it like that? Charon deals high Genesis damage. So basically we have I think it's sort of an execution mechanic. Like, oh, if you have below a certain threshold, you get instantly killed, which could be cool. Maybe one day they'll do it. But this is very similar. You're getting Genesis, like high Genesis damage. What is that? How much is that? Because like this guy is not a healer, so, and is upgrading and buffing and supporting. If you can get easy little bit of damage per fight, let's say, I would say a 300-400k damage overall, that if Charon can provide that as well as everything else, I feel like we get a really good character on our hands, right? So I don't know how much is this, but it says high Genesis damage to the enemy after HP is lower than a certain threshold percentage when you have Thanatophobia, which you will see is not that hard to get. So, you know, it would be actually pretty interesting. When Thanatophobia reaches a certain stack, increases damage taken. This is on the enemy. When the enemy has like multiple stacks of Thanatophobia, it will also take more damage. Let's move on to the kit. Charon Spirit 6-star skills. S1, from the Void. Remember the names. Mass mental damage to all enemies. Gives self shockwave. When hit, inflicts Thanatophobia. When you hit the enemy, increases Thanatophobia. So you have a big AoE, you gain shockwave, and you get Thanatophobia. So how many shockwave, we don't know. This will also be converted in Tremor, which again is a increased penetration rate. So, you know, there is the question that everybody's saying, that I am saying as well, which is, how are you getting Tremor? How are you getting Tremor? Besides this, we'll talk about it in just a second. Let me finish doing this, because I need to read the ultimate and then we talk about it. It's a really important question that can change the character, like a lot. So keep that in mind. S2, Sword of the Dead, mass buff. So he gains shockwave, and all allies gains RIP. RIP is a status that increases crit rate. When Tremor reaches a certain stacks of Tremor, the ally with Tremor converts the overflowing crit rate into crit damage when attacking. This is the question. Where are you giving Tremor to the allies? This makes me think that it must be a mistranslation somewhere in one of these. Now, this is the very, very, very early one. I haven't received a new one, so maybe they're working on it. Maybe whoever links me stuff was lacking. I don't know. Keep that in mind. This is said in a way that makes me think that this might apply to everybody. all overflowing Dynamo and Moxie of all allies will let Charon and the team maybe acquire Shockwave, or you need to do the damage from the void, you do the mass mental damage and you give everybody Shockwave. Where do you get Shockwave? I haven't found a way or a point where it says that you get everybody Shockwave. But let's move on. So with this RIP status, you convert Tremor. The ally with Tremor converts overflowing crit rate into crit damage after you get a certain stacks. So you want to mass buff and then you gain Shockwave, or maybe the mass buff, it's also a mistranslation, and this gives everybody Shockwave. Self was probably maybe intended for the team, the whole team. Self in the sense of like us, our side gains Shockwave and all allies gain RIP. Maybe that's what it was meant for. So yeah, you get this IRP status that converts overflowing crit rate. The ultimate and the Poppy Blooms. It's a self-channel, destroys all of your cards that you have in your hand and gains Shockwave. So it works basically the same way as Fatutu destroying her Flutterpage destroying all of her cards to get more Fuas, right? That mechanic is going to happen here again after you do the ultimate, which is makes you enter in a channel, into a channel state. You enter Shadow of the Past. That's the channel. The Shadow of the Past means at the end of the turn you consume Shockwave to trigger Day of Regret. Now you Charon have a lot of Shockwave, but it's gonna have to come down to a rotation and management for the actual how many Shockwave we have, and we won't have a lot because then when we do the ultimate we can do a lot of Day of Regret. Each trigger will increase the amount of Shockwave needed for the next trigger. A channel ends when Shockwaves is drained. Day of Regret is a mass mental damage to all enemies. This attack is affected by Alt Bite, and this effect is increases per Tremor stack that you have, and based on the Shockwave stacks, gives himself Dynamo. All the Thanatophobia and RIP increases duration. So you increase self-moxie. So it will increase the self-moxie. I'm assuming you gain moxie after the ultimate, after doing this channeling. So you don't really waste too many turns. I think it's a way of mitigating the fact that you're self-channeling. You might not be able to act. It doesn't really say it, but I would assume that if you're self-channeling and you're automatically doing AoEs, then you won't be able to act. I don't know though. That's just my hypothesis. So basically, you want to have as many Shockwave as you can to trigger Day of Regret, which is an AoE to all enemies, and it's affected by Ultimate, and it's increased per Tremor stacks, which, as we saw before, is stacks with scales with Shockwaves, but maybe 2-to-1, 1-to-1, I don't know, it doesn't matter. So what you want to do is you want to keep in mind that every time you are using the Shockwave to do the Day of Regret, it's going to be a big nuke, maybe, hopefully, and then this AoE damage is going to be powerful at first, but then the more you use the Shockwave, the more you do the Day of Regret, the more Shockwave you're gonna need, the more the less Shockwave you have, the less Tremor you have because you have less Shockwave, and then with this logic you will do less and less damage, and you will give less Dynamo, maybe, if it does multiple checks, who knows. Now, Day of Regret is this Tremor. Now this is the character. There are still questions to be answered. Where this is probably a mistranslation. How can we use Charon? A lot of people were saying wait, what if it's not just a Dynamo character? Because sure, he gives himself Dynamo, but that's the only mention of Dynamo is for himself on Day of Regret and on the Insight. And sure, he was gonna have the the electric field, the dynamo electric field, but what if you don't play it with dynamo? You know, if you think about it, what if you don't play it with dynamo? Maybe you can just play him with by himself. He's gonna do his dynamo thing on his own, and then you use him on any other on other team. It could be viable, but we're gonna have to check. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any idea, if you know more, if you know any translation, you know, any correction here that of anything that this kid said. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.